Hello and welcome back to the channel everyone. Freedom is at the heart of politics and personal lives. It is that one important concept that defines how we live, how we prosper, and how we ultimately live a life that we want. But the question is, what kind of a freedom do we want? To allow people to be as they are and to do as they please, or to give them a chance to live up to their vision of the society and humanity. Freedom and liberty are synonymous and they go hand in hand in a long way. Today we'll be discussing the ideas on liberty and freedom. The ideas of a political philosopher, a thinker, and a historian, Isaiah Berlin. It was formally framed, the differences between the two kinds of liberty were formally framed by Isaiah Berlin in his famous essays, The Two Concepts of Liberty. This was actually a speech given by him in Oxford in 1958. Later on in 1969, it was published as The Four Essays on Liberty. Finally, in 2002, it got republished as Liberty. Berlin was born in Latvia to Russian-speaking Jew parents. He moved into London and won his place in Oxford. He has moved to England just after the Bolshevik Revolution. So he very well knew about the destructive effects of the new socialist state, the Soviet Union, on personal liberty and freedom. 1950s was an era where people romanticized socialism and communism. And many leftists in the US and Britain, for them it was a central fodder. But it was Berlin who knew the ill effects of this new kind of socialism. He divided liberty into two concepts, the negative liberty and the positive liberty. Negative liberty is the extent to which any person or an individual is free from external compulsion, interference, or control. This control can come from a person, from a state, or from a government. Negative liberty can be summed up as I am not a slave to anyone. Positive liberty, contrary to this, is the freedom to be something or to be someone. This concept understands the person as a thinking, willing, and an active being who is responsible for his own choices. In a nutshell, this concept of positive liberty means I am the king of myself. In one sentence, the concept of positive liberty means I am my own master. But according to Berlin, he says we are free to the extent that we believe how much we are free. Positive liberty wants to create the idea of an ethical self or the true mastery on oneself, or a person who has fully realized his own potential. This idea of positive liberty, when taken forward, can lead to compelling or forcing individuals to do things which one believes is to be good or true to them or beneficial to them. This concept, according to Berlin, when taken forward, can lead to tyrants doing oppressive things and justifying the worst forms of oppression. This can be explained with a simple example. Parents compel their children to go to school because they know that school is good for them. But this is a totally different example from a different level. But a state or a government compelling an individual to do something in the guise of this is good for you ultimately leads to individual freedom and space being curtailed. And any regime can defend this action by saying that we are doing it for your own good and for your development or for the progress of the society. This is what was seen in the latest farm agitation and the passing of the farm laws in India. It was not only passed in a hurry, but the complete agitation, the farmers were overlooked, and it was forced on them by saying that this is for your own good and for your own benefit. And if you don't carry along with this narrative, Berlin says that you become the enemy of the state or enemy of the people. You become naturally what is called as an anti-national. The supporters of negative liberty very well know that perfection of the human being is a flawed idea in itself. Human beings cannot be completely perfected. Hence, negative and positive liberty are not just two distinct kinds of liberty, but they are contrary to one another. They are seen as rivals and incompatible interpretations of a single political idea of liberty. Nobody is against liberty, but the way in which this term liberty is defined and used has a long political implications. French Revolution has liberated the French, but Berlin says that sovereignty of the state is not actually the freedom of people, but it is actually the sovereignty of the popular will and not more freedom to people. That is why we see various kinds of bans been put up in France. You have any person can have individual liberty. You have the right to swing your arm, but if your arm comes into the direction of my face, you are hitting me. That is not what is defined as liberty to do anything. That is not the liberty to free speech. Liberty is defined in terms of a context. What happened in the latest scenario in France, popular political will being thrown onto the people in the name of personal freedom or liberty. France supported the Americans in their revolt against the England in 1789. Later on, America got liberated. In the US, one of the seven wonders of the world, the Statue of Liberty. Statue of Liberty has its own history. Statue of Liberty was gifted to America by the French in an act of passing the anti-slavery laws. In commemoration of the abolition of slavery, the Statue of Liberty, or what is called as liberty enlightening the people, or what is called as liberty enlightening the world. The statue is actually welcoming the immigrants to the American soil. But the greater question that needs to be answered is, do we have complete liberty and freedom? Has racism, casteism, slavery, prejudice abolished? The greater question that needs to be asked is, do we really have liberty or freedom? These were what the two concepts of liberty by Isaiah Berlin. We'll be elaborating more on the concept of liberty in the coming lectures. Hope you have liked this video and hope to see you soon in the next one. Till then, thank you very much.